Everything didn't fall apart by accident. It felt sudden, maybe even cruel. The doors that closed, the people who walked away, the plans that stopped working no matter how hard you tried to hold them together. One moment you thought you were moving forward, and the next, it was like your entire life hit a reset button you never agreed to press. And now you're here, trying to make sense of what God is doing in the middle of all this silence, all this change, all this uncertainty. But here's the truth you need to hear right now. God does not reset a life He doesn't plan to rebuild. He doesn't strip things away just to leave you empty. When God allows a reset, it's because something greater is about to be established. Something stronger, something purer, something that actually aligns with the purpose He had for you long before you ever made your own plans. The Bible shows us this pattern again and again. Before God elevates, He separates. Before He blesses, He breaks what can't go with you. Before He builds something new, He tears down what was never meant to last. It's not destruction, it's preparation. It's not rejection, it's redirection. Right now, it may feel like you've lost more than you've gained. It may feel like you're starting over while everyone else is moving ahead. But what you don't see is that God is doing His deepest work in this hidden season. He's not just changing your circumstances, He's changing you, and that changes everything. This is the part most people don't understand. They think the reset is the end of the story, when in reality it's the beginning of the most important chapter. Because after the reset, God doesn't leave you in the rubble. He begins to move in ways that are intentional, precise, and powerful. So if you've been wondering what comes next, if you've been asking God why everything had to fall apart, stay with me. Because what God does after the reset is not random, it's strategic. And once you see it, you'll realize this wasn't the end of your life. It was the moment God took control of it. Number 1. God clears what was never meant to stay. After the reset, the first thing God does is remove what no longer belongs in your life. And this is the part that hurts the most, because it doesn't always look like protection. It feels like loss. People you thought would stay forever suddenly disappear. Opportunities you prayed for begin to collapse. Doors you worked so hard to open are quietly shut. But the Bible makes this clear in John 15. God prunes every branch that is meant to bear fruit so that it can become even more fruitful. Pruning is not comfortable. It involves cutting. It involves separation. Yet without it, growth would be limited, and the life God has prepared for you would never fully unfold. You see, not everything that was in your life was sent by God. Some things were temporary. Some things were distractions. Some things were assignments that had already served their purpose, even if you were not ready to let them go. And because God sees what you cannot see, He will remove what you would have held on to. Think about Abraham. God told him to leave his land, his people, and everything familiar. It didn't make sense at the time. There was no detailed explanation, no clear picture of what was ahead, only a command to move. And that movement required separation. That's what God is doing with you right now. He is clearing space. He is making room, because what He is about to bring into your life cannot coexist with what you are holding on to. So if something has been taken away, don't rush to replace it. Don't chase what God has already removed. Trust that if He allowed it to leave, it was never meant to go where you are going next. Sometimes, the greatest sign that God is working is not what He adds, but what He takes away. Number 2. God silences the noise so you can hear Him clearly. After the clearing comes the silence. And this is where many people begin to feel lost. Because once everything is stripped away, life becomes quieter than you expected. The constant distractions are gone. The voices you used to rely on are no longer there. And suddenly, you're left alone with your thoughts and with God. At first, this silence can feel uncomfortable, even frightening. You might wonder why God seems distant, why things feel slower, why nothing exciting is happening. But the silence is not absence, it is intentional. In 1 Kings 19, Elijah expected God to show up in powerful ways, in the wind, in the earthquake, in the fire. But God wasn't in any of those. Instead, He came in a still, small voice, and that's where everything changed. God often removes the noise because noise competes with his voice. When your life is full of distractions, it becomes difficult to discern his direction. So he creates a season where the only voice left to follow is his. This is where clarity is born. This is where confusion begins to fade. This is where God starts speaking to you in ways you may have never experienced before, through his word, through conviction, through quiet moments that suddenly feel full of meaning. The silence is not empty. It is sacred, and if you lean into it, instead of running from it, you'll begin to realize that God is closer than ever. He's not shouting over the chaos anymore. He's speaking directly to your spirit. So don't be afraid of this quiet season. Don't rush to fill it with distractions, just to feel comfortable again. Because what God is saying to you right now will shape everything that comes next. Number 3, God rebuilds your identity from the inside out. Once the noise is gone, God begins his deepest work, not around you, but within you. Because before he changes your circumstances, he transforms your identity. This is where everything starts to shift. For a long time, you may have defined yourself by what you had, what you achieved, or how others saw you. Your identity may have been tied to relationships, success, validation, or even past pain. But after the reset, God strips all of that away so he can show you who you really are in him. Romans 12:2 says to be transformed by the renewing of your mind. That means the real battle is not outside, it's internal. God begins to challenge the lies you've believed about yourself, the fear that told you you're not enough, the doubt that whispered you'll never change, the shame that tried to keep you stuck in your past. And slowly, he replaces those lies with truth. You start to see yourself differently. Not as broken, but as being rebuilt. Not as forgotten, but as chosen. Not as weak, but as someone being strengthened for a purpose far greater than you imagined. This process isn't instant. It takes time. There are moments when you'll feel like you're caught between who you used to be and who God is calling you to become. But that tension is part of the transformation, because God is not just preparing something for you. He is preparing you for it. And if your identity doesn't change, you won't be able to sustain what he's about to give you. That's why this stage is so important. God is building a foundation inside of you that no storm will be able to shake. So don't resist this process. Don't rush it. Let God redefine you. Because once you truly understand who you are in him, everything else in your life will begin to align with that truth. Number 4, God tests your faith before elevating you. After God begins to rebuild your identity, the next phase often feels like pressure. Challenges arise, delays continue, situations don't improve as quickly as you hoped, and you might start wondering if anything is actually changing at all. But this is not a setback. This is a test. James 1:3 says that the testing of your faith produces perseverance, and perseverance is what prepares you for elevation. Because God will never take you to a higher level without first strengthening your faith to handle it. Think about Joseph. He had a dream from God, but before that dream became reality, he was betrayed, sold, falsely accused, and imprisoned. Every step looked like the opposite of progress, but in reality, God was using each moment to shape his character, to refine his faith, and to prepare him for the position he would eventually step into. Or consider Job. He lost everything, his possessions, his family, his health, yet through it all, his faith was tested in ways most people could never endure. And in the end, God restored him with even more than he had before. This is how God works. He doesn't just give blessings, he prepares you to carry them. The test reveals what's really inside you. Do you still trust God when you don't see results? Do you still believe when the situation doesn't change? Do you still stand when everything around you feels uncertain? Because faith is not proven when things are easy. It's proven when everything is difficult, and you still choose to trust him. So if you feel like you're being stretched right now, don't give up. You're not being punished. You're being prepared. The weight you feel is not meant to break you. It's meant to build you into someone who can stand strong when the blessing finally arrives. Number 5. God positions you in places you didn't expect. After the testing, something begins to shift. Not always loudly, not always suddenly, but unmistakably. Doors start opening in places you didn't plan for. Opportunities appear that weren't even on your radar, and you find yourself stepping into environments you never imagined you would be in. This is God positioning you. Proverbs 16:9 says that we make our plans, but the Lord directs our steps. And after a reset, those steps rarely follow the path you originally designed. Because God is not trying to bring you back to what was, He is leading you into what's next. At first, this new positioning can feel unfamiliar, even uncomfortable. You may question whether you belong there. You may feel unqualified or out of place, but that's often the clearest sign that it's God. Because when He positions you, it's not based on your comfort, it's based on your calling. Think about David. He was a shepherd, overlooked and forgotten. Yet God positioned him in front of a giant that no one else could defeat. Or Esther, who went from an ordinary life to being placed in a royal palace for a moment that would change history. They didn't plan those positions. God placed them there. And the same is happening in your life. What looks like coincidence is actually alignment. What feels unexpected is actually intentional. God is arranging things behind the scenes, moving pieces you can't see, placing you exactly where you need to be for what's coming next. So don't overthink every new opportunity. Don't talk yourself out of places God is leading you into. Even if it doesn't make sense yet, trust that He knows exactly what He's doing. Because when God positions you, it's never random. It's always preparation for purpose. Number 6. God connects you with the right people at the right time. As God positions you, He also begins to shift the people around you. And this is one of the clearest signs that a new season has truly begun. The relationships that once defined your life may no longer fit. Conversations feel different, connections change, and at the same time, new people begin to enter your life. People who understand you in ways others didn't. People who speak life into you. People who align with where God is taking you. These are not random encounters. These are divine connections. In the Bible, destiny was often unlocked through the right relationships. David had Jonathan, who strengthened and protected him. Ruth had Naomi, who guided her into a new future. Paul had Timothy, a connection that carried purpose far beyond a single moment. God uses people as part of His plan, but not just any people, the right people, because the wrong connections can delay your purpose, but the right ones can accelerate it. You'll begin to notice the difference. The right people don't drain you. They sharpen you. They don't pull you away from God. They push you closer to Him. They don't compete with your calling. They confirm it. And sometimes, these connections come in unexpected ways. A conversation you didn't plan. A meeting that seemed ordinary. A relationship that grows faster than you anticipated. But behind it all, God is orchestrating something bigger. So pay attention to who is entering your life in this season. Be open, but also be discerning. Not everyone is meant to go with you, but the ones who are, you'll recognize them by the fruit they produce in your life. Because when God connects you with the right people at the right time, it's not just about companionship, it's about alignment with your destiny. Number 7, God releases what He was preparing you for. After everything you've been through, the loss, the silence, the transformation, the testing, the repositioning, and the new connections, there comes a moment where it all begins to make sense. This is where God releases what He's been preparing all along. It doesn't always happen the way you imagined. It doesn't always look like the plan you once had. But when it comes, there is a clarity, a peace, and a confirmation deep in your spirit that tells you, this is it. This is why you had to go through everything you went through. Galatians 6:9 reminds us that if we do not grow weary, we will reap in due season. And that due season is not random. It's perfectly timed. God never releases a blessing before you're ready to carry it. Because what He's giving you now is not something temporary. It's not something fragile. It's something built on everything He has done inside you. Suddenly, doors that once felt impossible begin to open with ease. Opportunities align. Favor shows up in ways you can't explain. And the things you once prayed for start to manifest. Not because you forced them, but because God ordained them. This is the difference between striving and stepping into purpose. When it's from God, you don't have to chase it. It flows toward you. And in that moment, you realize something powerful. The delay was not denial. The struggle was not wasted. Every tear, every closed door, every season of confusion was building toward this exact point. So when God releases it, receive it with humility, walk in it with faith, and never forget that what you have now is the result of God's hand on your life, not just your own effort. Because when God gives it, no one can take it away. Conclusion. Now you can see it clearly. What felt like everything falling apart was actually God putting everything into place. The reset wasn't meant to destroy you. It was meant to redefine you. It was God removing what couldn't go with you, silencing what distracted you, rebuilding who you are, testing your faith, positioning your steps, and aligning you with the right people. And now, He's bringing you into what He prepared all along. You were never forgotten in the silence. You were never abandoned in the confusion. God was working the entire time, strategically, intentionally, and faithfully. So if you're still in the middle of your reset, don't lose heart. Don't rush the process. Don't go back to what God has already taken you out of. Stay where He has placed you. Trust what He is doing, and keep moving forward even when you don't see the full picture yet. Because what's coming is bigger than what you lost. And when it finally unfolds, you won't just see God's hand. You'll understand His timing. After the reset, God doesn't just restore your life to what it was. He brings you into what it was always meant to be.